Okay, it's 6:02, November 13th. We're having a work session as a select board. The purpose of the work session is to bring back together our town hall committee. And now we're out of the danger zone. The point of this meeting is to bring back together our town hall committee. We've gotten, as a group and as a town, we've gotten through a lot of the outstanding issues we've had to get the town back up and running and on its feet. And as most of you probably noticed, there's some storage containers out front. So we want to get this program on the road. I think the first thing that we should do, you all know all of us, we ought to do some introductions to those who don't know you. So we'll start with Kelly and we'll just go around the room this way. Just stand up and introduce yourself.
Me?
Yes.
Starting with me? I'm Kelly Doyle. I live at 15 Pleasant Avenue. And I've been part of this for a long time. I've been wanting to save the town hall since I moved here.
Phil Downs. Saying no.
Stand up.
You don't need to stand up.
Come on.
Operated Phil's Garage for 20 some odd years. I'm retired now.
Priscilla Johnson, his wife, have been in Sangerville for quite a while.
Melissa Getchell. I've lived in Sangerville for 6 years.
Dennis Campbell, I lived here and hung out here for a long time, but anyway.
Yeah, Gerald Peters. I was part of the committee that restored the town hall in '92, and it still holds my interest.
Sue Griffith, a council member, not a resident, but a council member of the Universalist Church, which also was added to the National Historic Register last year.
Awesome. Okay, and for everybody here, do you know all of us? Do we need introductions? Okay, so we'll go. We'll start with Michelle.
Michelle Nichols. I've worked for the town for a little over a year now.
Kelsey Shannon, I'm on my 4th week with the town.
I'll make Kelly happy and stand up. I'm Brian Mullis, I'm the Uniontown manager, and I will say out of the gate, one of the reasons I accepted this job is because I wanted to be part of saving that building next door. So this is a project that I plan to be as passionate as you folks let me be about.
Excellent.
I'm Josh Tracy. I live in East Sangerville.
Mike Gould, law enforcement, 36 years here. And also really like to see the town office come back.
And I'm Jeff Peters. As you all know, we're on the committee together before. Which brings us to the first obstacle. I was chair of that committee. I'm now chair of the select board. And the two do not go hand in hand according to MMA. Which means one of the orders of business we have to deal with as a group is reappointing a chair and the positions in the committee as you see fit. Our role as a select board is not to micromanage this committee. This committee is an informational committee and homework, research, whatever you want to call it, as an aid to Brian and to us to move forward with decisions regarding the town hall. Today Brian met with the engineers and
they will be back tomorrow. They came out, they just kind of wanted to do a walkthrough. They're gonna bring lights and generators and battery packs and robots and all kinds of things tomorrow. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, if anyone's interested. I don't see why we couldn't have members of this committee present. Matter of fact, Jerry, if you're around, they might really be interested in hearing some of your historical perspectives on the work that's been done in the past.
I'll plan on it.
So they apparently they're gonna have some sort of robot down in the cellar tomorrow to look at these walls. At least that's my understanding. I'm kind of excited to see the robot, the R2D2 that's gonna be running around.
Should I bring my PR?
Possibly, yeah. They were somewhat, I would say they were positive today. Basically, one of the engineers, Steve, the lead engineer, he had another engineer with him that he was kind of introducing to the building. And there's a lot of foundation work that needs to be done. And basically what they told me was that it looks like when the building was built in the early 1900 or 1901, and this was a common practice of all buildings back in the day, they put the foundation in and they just put whatever material was available, which was probably mostly clay, back in around that foundation. And through time, and again through the drainage situation created by this parking lot, it's really pushed more than just that north wall. It's really done some displacement of all four walls, and that's one of the things they want to do is give us a
Estimate?
not even that far. They want to give us, you know, a solid plan of what it's going to take to get those walls back. And one of the things I kind of took out of that is there's going to be a tremendous amount of excavation in the early part of this project. The other thing they said was we all agreed on is the roof needs to be fixed or at least stabilized as soon as possible. Steve's bringing me the name, supposed to be bringing me the name tomorrow of some contractors that are certified to do slate roofs on historical buildings. But overall, the engineer he brought with him he's like, wow, you know, he was pretty positive. He's like, wow, this is a beautiful old building. It definitely needs to be saved. So they weren't saying anything along the lines of this is insurmountable in cost, or, you know, they weren't throwing 7-figure sums out at me or anything like that. They weren't throwing any sums at me, and I told him that we were looking at probably doing the usage of the building in phases, other than the fact that the structural issues all have to be done before we can reoccupy the building, but that we would do the first floor as one phase and then probably look at, you know, the upper floors. But, you know, we were all up there looking at us like, you know, boy, it'd be nice to get it all fixed up and get that suspended ceiling out of there and refinish floors and get that painted up and be able to use. One of the other things I'm doing is, some of you that know me know my hometown is Corinna. The Stewart Library building, the big brick building in the center of Corinna, they did a similar project on this a few years ago, and is actually one of my teachers, my junior high science teacher was kind of the lead guy in that, so I'm going to contact him and see what I can get for advice from him, and I'll probably talk to Jack and see who he can point me towards that was involved in Central Hall's rehabilitation, so we can kind of get some information, me in particular, so I can get some information where they got grants and that sort of stuff for it.
Did 3 pass, Jeff, did 3 pass?
Everything I've read says it did. It did.
4951 or something like that?
Yes,
51?
it was very
It
close.
was really close, so that's,
Well, yeah, that will help, although right now my understanding from what Chad Perkins told me Monday morning was a whole bunch of stuff, everything that's close is going to recount. But that's mostly the ranked choice for the candidates. I don't know if they're doing that with the.
I understood the
referendum.
bond issues were just bond issues and that was
Yeah.
passed,
Yeah.
I think that's probably true.
Yep,
that's exciting, right? Isn't that
Yes,
exciting?
that's very exciting.
That's
we-
$10 million.
Because, you know, our building is already listed on the endangered list, and that's what they're basing
And
that
on,
off
you know,
of.
on the National Historic Register.
And on the registry as well.
So
It's
I
really
went-
exciting that where they
I
are.
went and tracked down the number for that. I've got that on my desk, the number of what that building is placed everything on the National Historic Register has a number, so we have that number. One of the things that I'd really like, some direction on, I started researching grants before we knew whether question 3 was gonna pass or not. And I also kind of think, knowing government, which sadly I do, I think it's gonna take them a little bit of time for the wheels to get turning on this and getting actual money out there. So one of the grants I've researched is a National Historic Preservation Grant. And essentially, I think we qualify for it to get some of the work done. It has to be between $10,000 and $30,000, and there are 2 stumbling blocks. One is I have to have the application in by December 13th, which isn't a whole lot of time. And the other stumbling block is it's a 75-25% match. And I actually did go back through all the records yesterday, and Bridie is correct, that if we are to accept that, we have to go to a special town meeting to get the town to accept that and match that 25%.
Even if they've already got the 440,000?
Yes.
That is my understanding. Dennis, did you?
If I read it correctly, it's not that you can't accept it, it's that you can't apply for it.
Apply. You have to have the meeting first then?
Because the reading of the article, I stood up and opposed this, and it was voted through it, to see if the town will authorize select board to apply for and accept grants from private, state, and federal agencies that do not require matching funds. I don't think.
You may, I apparently glossed over that part when I read it. I think you're correct.
I'm afraid that we can't apply for it until we have a special town meeting to rescind that vote.
I think you may be correct.
Unfortunately.
I mean, certainly not gonna argue with it, because it sounds to me like you're correct.
See, Dennis, this is why we want you involved and everybody else in this group. More eyes is more better.
So if this particular grant opportunity sails by us, which it looks like it probably will, there are other grants. I mean, that was just one of the first ones I hit on a first mouse click and said, this looks good. And the only thing we're out is, I've read through that huge grant manual, 76-page manual twice, so I'm out a little bit of reading time if we don't apply for it, but maybe we apply for it on the next round.
Well, you said December 13th,
Yeah,
right?
we've got plenty of time.
We could have a special town meeting on the 30th.
I'm gonna defer to the selectmen on that.
It's the day after Black Friday.
So,
Oh, my God.
Let's do it on Black Friday, there'll be less money spent in my house.
Special meeting, 5 a.m.
I think we should go for it.
And Saturday we get people out.
It's the last Saturday of deer season, right?
The question is, do we reverse the whole article, or do we try to reverse the whole article, or do we just ask for just
Change
this
the verbiage in the existing article.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we should do it knowing that we might be applying for the part of the 10 million, and that also is a 25-75 match, right?
And I think if we do that, I think what you're saying is exactly correct. The $440,000 I understood was allocated for us to spend on the building, but it wasn't designed for match funds, to pay the 25% match. And I think we need to revisit the whole thing and make it work for our situation.
Which also begs the question, do we wanna jump, not wanna jump too quickly at this until we have a very clear plan to put before the townspeople?
We
Well,
absolutely.
if we do, during the special town meeting, if we say the first one up is the 20% match, yay or nay, and then the second one is talk about reverbing the article, I don't think that would pose a problem.
And maybe put it in a way that we can apply.
Yes.
We can apply, but when we get accepted, then we'll pull the town together and maybe something like that. So then you're open to apply for any match fund
I think that's the thing we need to correct,
We
is
need
being able to apply.
to apply, and that, because you're gonna have to, there's so many places that aren't gonna.
Why was that even an article?
Because well, if you recall, we wrote the article and then it was visited by our leadership and there was some changes made. Some things crossed out and
then
some
they
changes
made
made.
It was an attempt to prevent us from applying for grants and spending any money on the town hall, period, so.
Well,
One might suspect that. I don't know what the ultimate reason was, whether it was.
I guess
decided.
I'm the new guy here and we all have feelings about what happened prior to this board taking office. And I know some of you have very strong feelings and I can respect that, but I guess my feeling is let's move forward and do what we need to do and not worry so much about what got us where we are.
The town is behind this, so they are. So, this is good.
A certain percentage.
Sue, you had a question?
Majority.
There's been so much delay, and I don't know where the town's audit is at, but that the former board had money that was never put into this maintenance or repair. And that,
The audit is complete. We've signed the letter and sent that off. I asked to meet directly with the auditor before we did that. And I looked the man right square in the eye in the office over there and said, is there anything we need to be concerned about potential misappropriations or any type of financial hanky-panky whatsoever? And he said no.
that's great news.
So, whatever you may think of those past people, they either were really, really good or they were really, really honest, and I'm gonna go with the fact that they were honest. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt.
Those past boards are to be given credit in that they put together a lot of capital, but I think it came at the neglect of some of those repairs. But to explain that at any special town meeting, to get that word out to folks, that
Right.
stretching that $400,000 means please vote to let us apply for any opportunities.
And-
Well, and the other thing that I do need, the other caveat here is, the article said up to $440,000. And if we were to utilize that whole $440,000 before July 1 of next year, we'd be running dangerously close to putting the town to a point where we couldn't write checks that weren't gonna bounce. So, if you go back and you look at the amount of money that came in for taxes, with what has to go out to pay the school, what has to go out to pay the county, and what has to be held in there for us to be able to run from January 1 to July when we start receiving tax payments, there isn't quite the amount of money to fully fund that. We have some money in there to do it, but I'm gonna say it's more in the 300,000 range than the.
What we're finding is there are things, I'll just give you an example. The money for the Veterans Memorial was in that big total. Really wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be invested in the Veterans Memorial. And that money was a gift to the town, so as select people, we put the money where it's supposed to be. It was received as a gift, that's where the money is. But that money is no longer in the general fund, it is in the veterans part. So there's some things like that that we have to get through as we approach that dollar amount, that line. Yes?
If we have a special meeting so it can be a meet and greet, new town manager, new select board, and then to revisit what we voted on last time, which somebody did get up and say they wanted to cut the town funds because we didn't have a town manager. As far as payment with that has changed. the veterans fund, that was in
Yeah, I'd
that money.
appreciate it if you
All
kept paying me though.
Yes, right. In other words, the funds were cut, which we really needed those funds for all of these things. And then to tell them what's going on with the dam, what's going on with the graveyard,
Mm.
you know, and all of these other things, and, right,
Real quick on the
and
grave.
ask for the money.
Real quick on that nightmare in the graveyard, because I talked to Josh about this, but I don't know if I have anybody else.
I haven't heard about this.
Well, it's a chunk of, no people, but a chunk of real estate in the graveyard fell into the river in those storms last week.
Wow.
I have some connections at the Civil Engineering Department at the University of Maine, and I think I can get them to come up and do some free engineering work on what it will take us to stabilize that, but that's a whole other angle of working.
Which doesn't have a lot to do with the town hall, but it does. So as we approach this, either special town meeting or the chunk of money that we have and how that's gonna be allocated, we have hired an engineer. That expense is, it's real, it's there, it's happening. We got a real expense to fix the roof, that's real, gonna happen.
Oh, who's doing
That's-
that?
We're working towards that. Tomorrow we'll have a better
I have an
idea.
estimate from a restoration company.
We're-
Are you interested in that?
Certainly,
Maybe it's the
certainly.
same guy.
Uh,
Blackstone Restoration out of Bangor?
I wouldn't be surprised, but that might be one that, thank you. Can I hang on to this, Kelly?
Yes.
Yeah,
So as we
Top
move,
notch, top is the top.
They work on slate roofs, too?
That's his specialty,
Oh, great.
that's all they do.
and that was what Steve is the lead project engineer or whatever, Steve Gravoni for the company that was hired, and he, that was what he said, the roofers was gonna get to me were people that were certified as able to work on historical slate roofs.
That's them.
So,
It's probably the same guy.
I wouldn't be surprised when
There's
he
only
made,
probably one in Maine.
well, I think he said 3, but, so this is probably one of them, so.
Pretty high estimate, it was 17,000, but that includes years of maintenance.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need somebody to come in every year or 3 and replace shingles. You know, if some have fallen off. and-
That's probably true, cause
so how do you as a committee feel you wanna move forward? We kinda feel like this committee should be the committee, and we're happy to be a part or not be a part as the committee sees fit. If the committee would rather meet and bring their ideas to us, or if you'd rather meet just like we are right now, as a whole entire group.
I would really like to be present when you meet, because I really want you folks giving me direction.
Well, and we need that too. Right? We need to not wait until the next day to bring it to you. We need to have that interaction, which we didn't have last time.
Yeah, we didn't have any cooperation.
Well, you have my 100% cooperation. I mean, you know, obviously the townspeople are gonna have the final say on what we can spend for money and how we do it as a whole, but for the process, you know, I'm gonna put 100% into this, so you have my full support and work and cooperation and everything else here.
So that means we can use this room, right?
I don't know why not.
Okay, well, we got picked out last time.
Is there a copy machine in here, and I can get a copy of that? Because that cost me $200. That cost me $200.
Actually, why don't I hand it back to you, Kelly?
And I can get a copy.
You
and I'll
can get
give
a
you
copy even if you have to come down to the office and we do the copy for
Okay.
you.
Okay, so that's all I have from
Yeah.
them.
Sure.
Thank you, sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's fine.
So at this point tonight, we've basically discussed the mission and the purpose of everybody getting together. As a committee, you'll need to select one of you as a chair or as a spokesperson for your committee. I know when I was involved with the committee, Dennis very involved with, the record keeping and stuff. I don't know, you guys wanna pick amongst yourselves what you wanna do for a chair or a spokesperson?
Does that have to be decided
It doesn't.
tonight?
It doesn't.
Because I know we're missing a lot of people.
We're missing a lot of
for
people.
input, and others might be interested in that role.
No, that's certainly it. When we come back together, we'll need to have that.
I think another question maybe, Jeff, that we wanna throw out, and I don't know if we need an answer for this. This is an ad hoc committee. Do you want your selectmen to make a policy change and add this to the standing committees of the town so that you're appointed by the board, or do you wanna remain an ad hoc committee? I mean, there's certainly pros and cons to both.
That was one of the big questions.
Jerry, can you describe how it was done in 1992?
And
How was it done in 1992? Did you work with the select board?
we were appointed by the select board committee. And that's one of the reasons that the different select boards with different policies have a budget hacker, or I don't like that whole building type of thing. They kept us appointed for about 12 years. And at that time, the select board didn't want our opinion. Because we reported directly to the select board. And that's one of the reasons, once they did away with that standing, it was standing committee. Once they did away with that, right downhill.
Can I throw something out
So,
there? I'm sorry.
I prefer, myself, I prefer a standing committee appointed yearly by the select board. It adds continuity to the program to do that.
Well, as you folks might guess, that continuity is one of the biggest challenges I face every day I walk into that office. I spend a lot of time researching and trying to look for continuity over the last 20 years around here.
Right.
So Kelly, you
Yeah, I
have
just wanted to throw this out there, and Jerry, the city that I used to come from, I hail from, they had a maintenance person. Is that, I mean, the town hall building is bigger than the city hall of Bath. And it, you know, is that something you guys would consider? Is there like a regular maintenance person?
my only comment to that, and please
Yes.
don't think this is disrespectful,
Sure.
but I think we may be getting the cart in front of the horse by talking about that at this particular time.
Well, it's an expense, it's a big expense to have,
But, yeah, I
that's a big
think-
building that needs
I think-
constant daily
I think, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road,
when it's done.
when we get it done, then we revisit the fact that it's like, okay, we need a custodial person here, and we need a grounds plan, and we need a
Yes.
regular maintenance plan, and we probably need to keep this committee intact, as Jerry said,
Yes.
to be able to say, okay, town manager, this is what you need to put into your budget to maintain this building we've now put all this work and effort into for the coming
Exactly.
years.
Okay,
So yes, I think all that stuff, I think that would be a horrible mistake for us to put a lot of time, effort, and resources into saving and rehabilitating this building and then just sitting back and expecting it to take care of itself.
Precisely.
So, does that mean that the select board should appoint this committee?
Again, I think that's really up to you folks to decide, or you and the selectmen,
How do you guys feel? Do you think we should have an appointed committee or an ad hoc informational committee? You feel it should be appointed? You feel it should be? So as a board, we all feel that you should be appointed as a committee, with at least the leadership having terms, I would think.
And the policy, the town policy on boards and committees basically says you need a chairperson, you should have a vice chair, and you need a recording secretary. Beyond that, the numbers of how you do things and whatever are pretty much up to you. But as a standing committee, you're then, we post your agenda. All all meetings are open to the public. You don't have to be a resident to attend. Anybody can record the proceedings as long as they're not disruptive. And we have to have regular minutes that we post for the community.
Regular minutes or record it.
Or
and post
record it. But probably that level of transparency will serve you rather than hinder you, I would think.
We tried to do that last time. We had everything all on YouTube, all the recordings, which I have a question about October for you guys. But also, you know, we put meeting minutes out there and stuff.
So when the committee was together before, Melissa basically did the minutes and a lot of the secretarial stuff. Dennis was vice chair, I was the chair. And Diane McCarthy Clark did all the communications with people. And that's what we had for leadership as an ad hoc committee. And that's what you'll need to decide.
Who's driving who? I'm sorry, who's gonna be driving who though? Like, you've gotten the engineer, you're looking into the grants, so what are the boundaries between the committee and the select board? Like,
I'm looking for advice and direction from you people.
So, you want us to take the lead and you sign the check?
I think it's more a matter of we share the lead. And ultimately, the Board of Selectmen, you know, have the lead at the end of the
Like a
day.
collaboration.
Well, the selectmen have the responsibility to take people's opinion and make a decision with the information from Brian, the information from you, and the information. The beauty to having a big committee like you is, this is a cross-section of the community, and each one of you have a group of people that you talk to and that you know, and each one of you bring a group of people's opinion to this, and then bring that information to here and to here. And then we turn around when it's time to write the checks and do the things that gotta happen. Make sure the people are on board with it, and then make that happen. That's kinda how it works. But the more input we have, the more of a cross-section we have, the better result we're gonna have, the more likely we are to succeed.
The most important part is the engineering company that you've already hired, correct? I mean, they're the ones that are gonna say.
Oh, for the first step, yes.
They're the ones that are making the plan of things that need to be done.
You did a pretty detailed estimate on the foundation earlier,
Yes.
yes?
So,
That need to be reevaluated?
as it stands right now, tomorrow, the engineer is coming back and really starting the process
Yeah.
of turning that into real numbers, I think.
But a lot of that has to do with too, correct me if I'm wrong, how far you guys wanna go, or how far we all wanna go in the historic value, like, do we want every block back the way it was, and every piece of trim correct from 1902, or are we willing to deviate a little bit, or, correct?
Right, and these are all things we'll need input on.
Part of that is, where it's historic preservation, we're gonna be operating in some strict parameters on that about what we can do and what we can change.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But another big piece of this that you folks may have realized, but I didn't realize, there's gonna be a significant expense out of this whole thing, is really have to rework that entire parking lot, drop the level of it, add drainage to it. There's gonna be a lot of expense.
We had visited that as a committee, as part of the program.
The, what is it, the Guilford Sangerville sewer people, there's a broken drain and they're gonna be involved too, I would think, right? And it needs to be paved, really.
Yeah, again, another kind of down the road, backside of the project expense, I would think, but we gotta, it's like Josh and I, when we go out and look at roads, the first thing we gotta take care of is make sure the water's going where it needs to be. Cause that's our biggest challenge right now, both from above and below. So,
Yes.
we've gotta get that roof fixed and we've gotta manage that foundation problem. I mean, until you've got those done, you know, you can talk about the other stuff and, you know, dream and speculate and throw plans and ideas around, but we gotta take care of the structural stuff before we really put any resources into the next phase.
The engineering piece, I wanna make sure I understand it right, is right now what he's doing is inspecting the whole building
Yes.
and then going out for bids or building a bid package
My
so we know
understand-
how much it's
yeah.
gonna cost, right?
It's more a matter of building a bid package. He's telling us what we need to have done, so we can put that out to bid in whatever phases. So, and figure out how we're gonna fund that at each phase.
Right.
When we did it before, in '92, we had an engineering study, and there was a complete plan laid out to restore it and to maintain it. And if we had done that, we wouldn't be talking about this, but we didn't. But I expect this engineer's gonna do a facility assessment report and prioritize.
And again, that might be one of the, I mean, I think you might be able to bring some valuable perspective to those engineers where you were so involved in '92, if you're able to be here tomorrow.
So all right, so say the foundation, the engineer, they're not gonna say the price that it is, they're just gonna say this needs to be done. Then the town puts it out for bid in the local newspapers and stuff? Is that how it works, to get the contractor to do it?
The engineer's putting it out to bid.
Right, they have, like, here's an example, the slate roof we were talking about. There's 3 people qualified, those are the people that will be on his short list to receive a bid to fix the roof. That was my understanding when we talked to him the
So
first
the
time.
engineer knows the qualified people.
Right.
I'd be
There's
curious to see
parameters,
if
there's parameters as contractors that they have to meet to even qualify to do the work,
Of
for
course.
most of it.
But so you're saying that the engineering company is taking that portion of it. So what is our
That's-
committee supposed to do? I guess I'm lost as to what the committee's role is again. It's just to bring other people?
No, through the whole thing, there's gonna be a ton of decisions to be made. You know, which direction we go with them, you know, some of the renovations, all of it, and as we go, we don't want this to be Brian's dream, we don't want it to be my dream, we want it to be the town's dream. And all that information has to be funneled in from somewhere. That's the role that the committee plays, is having a part in all of those decisions. You know,
Who is our contact person? So say we have the meeting and we go, the roof definitely needs to be done. You guys already know that. We go to who? We go to
As a committee member, you'd go through Dennis.
right, or
Well, if you
Whoever's
choose
the-
Dennis.
if Dennis is gonna be your chair.
Okay.
I mean, I said that because Dennis was the vice chair and the former chair is unable to be there, but I mean, if you all decide that Dennis is gonna step up and take that role and Dennis accepts it, basically, he sets the agenda for the committee, all your discussions are recorded, and basically, he comes back to me and says, well, this is what the committee wants, and I'll probably be there for most of the meetings anyway.
Oh, okay.
But, then if we get into an issue where it's like, okay, wow, this is a good thing, but we're gonna spend $40,000, I can't spend $40,000 without talking to the selectmen. So then we come to the selectmen and say, this is the problem in front of us now. Or like with this whole grant application thing, we need
Next
to,
step to the town.
yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Just having been through the last process, Dennis, if you're willing, I hope you feel how much confidence this group has in you. And Melissa too, as a secretary, Melissa, you blew me away with the level of organization and efficiency. So we've got some real good talent.
I think we've got
I
some
second
great
that.
talent here, that's That's why I want this group active and helping provide direction.
I'd like to thank the select board too for going from 2 meetings a month to 4 and all the hours you've put in. It's incredible. You picked up a huge job. If Dennis and Melissa and some of our former leadership was willing to continue, if we could be part of those work sessions as long as they continue, just maybe even one Wednesday a month.
That is the
to
point of
make
the work session, is to be involved with the people.
Yeah, that,
It's hard to do in a select meeting when you've got an agenda and you've got so much to get through, and that's why we as a board have opted for work sessions to address things like this, so that we can have conversation without being stuck to an agenda. And so far, it's worked out really well for us. One of the questions I had, Brian.
Actually, Dennis said something there.
Oh, I didn't see.
Well, the select board, the buck is gonna stop with the select board, that's a given. But the select board also has their hands full with 11 other fires to keep going and other things. So this committee needs to take some of that and collate it, bring it down to what the select board needs to deal with.
And
Because the select board can't spend all the time on the nitty gritty of all the things that we've been around and going around again. We need to distill the action, whatever needs to take place, and we need to bring it, okay, select board, here's where we're at, this is what you need to take.
I think we feel the same way.
As do I, because I think, one of the things that I'm finding, and I guess I already knew and you probably do as well, is there's gonna be a lot of research work to be done on this. Whether it's grants, whether it's, other fundraising options, there's a lot to be done, and if I have help with that, we're gonna be a lot more successful. I certainly don't mind writing grants, I'm happy to do it all day long, but if there are other people that are willing to do research, or research portions of stuff, or provide historical perspective, Jerry, having Diane McCarthy Clark, and people like that can kind of sit here and say, well, you ought to consider it this way, or consider looking here for this. That's valuable stuff to me to help me with my job.
And there's so much of it that people don't see, like, a good example, Kelly contacted Maine Preservation and talked to Brad. That whole thing came from a
I
contact.
applied at the library.
But that came from a contact that somebody in this group made, Kelly, and that turned into something big. Now if you've got 10 people trying to do the same thing, you can see the difference that would make.
Yeah, and I think what worked well with the committee is we broke out into groups and we all had different focuses. So you could have a focus on grants, you could have a focus on budget,
Vision.
Yeah, all that stuff.
That was the most successful part of what we did, was when we broke it down into groups. Now, one of the questions I had, it sounds like we're gonna go the route of appointed committee. And currently, how does our policy read? Do we have a number of members we have to meet? How does that policy read?
The only thing that really applies to that I can see is a planning. Basically, there's 3 committees you have to have: the planning board, the board of appeals, and the budget committee. Everything else really kind of falls up to your discretion as near as I can read things. So as long as everything we do is fair, open, out there, everybody has a chance to apply and be considered for a position on it, and I don't think there's anything that says you have to set it at 3 people, 5 people, 7 people, 26 people.
I hope not.
We can work with the writing of a policy that fits our needs.
Yep.
I think I can leave it at that.
Can we have it so it's open for people?
I think that's better.
Yeah, I would too. that's what I liked about the ad hoc,
You
is
could come and
anybody
go.
who wanted to be a part of it, to help work on it, could show up.
Well,
But then you have the people who ran the committee.
any
That didn't
committee,
change.
any committee of the town, this is a law, is required to, you know, if you become a standing committee, you're required to post the agenda if you're meeting 24 hours in advance. And the meeting is open to everybody.
It's open to everybody.
And
Okay.
again,
Oh.
including non-residents. And what you can decide, I guess, is based on how people speak, when they're people, you know, you can conduct your meeting how you want, but you do have to make it. And again, like I said, I think we want everything to be as open and transparent as possible. I mean, I think that's one of our shared goals here.
Yeah.
Is we want people in town to know what's going on, be involved. You know, I want people to know they can walk into the office down there and walk over to my desk and say, hey, this is what I think about this, and know that I'm gonna listen to them. I think that's probably one of the most, if not the single most important part of my job. The way a community, in my opinion, the way a community works best is when everybody's working together or, you know, within, you know, as much as we can.
So the only real thing to complete that line of thought is, with any meeting, you said it's gotta be public, you gotta have minutes, and you've got to have a chair and somebody to write the minutes, and that's all we really care, is you get through that piece of it, because when you get a group of people together, you've got to have somebody with enough authority to keep the meeting going and keep the subject matter going, and if there's disruption, have the ability to correct it. So as far as leadership goes, that's really all we need, is just a chair and somebody to make sure that we have, you know, have the minutes done. And I don't think we need to appoint that person, they just need to decide between them,
Are you
don't they?
interested in that, Dennis?
I would do it.
Because I can help you as an assistant if you can show up.
If we have them appointed as a
It's only
standing
one
committee,
agenda.
we need to have the town, the selectmen approve the policy that creates the standing committee. And then we need to have you approve the appointments. Beyond that,
Right,
everything is pretty much up to them.
yep. So at some point, we'll need to do that if we're gonna appoint them as a standing committee, I guess. Whether we do it tonight or,
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, you can't do it, you only can do it as in a regular meeting.
that's right, so.
Or if you do it, you can do an emergency meeting to do it, but even an emergency meeting, you have to post 24 hours.
Yeah. So we would have to do the appointment next Wednesday, if they decided who was,
So would we have to have a meeting prior to next Wednesday to all vote and decide, or if it?
you can decide that right here tonight if that's what you wanna do, and then we'll just do the appointment next Wednesday.
And is this okay to meet in, or are we gonna do it at the church, like we did before?
Here, because we get him.
Because what?
I can go to
Because we get Brian.
I can go to the church too, I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Well, if we get real big, then we might.
We promise we're not gonna ask you to leave, you can meet right here.
So you wanna leave it as an unlimited amount of people? Or do you wanna limit your committee?
I would like to have it open to whoever wants to be involved.
I think there are
I think
several,
that is a good thing.
I think there are several people that probably weren't here tonight that would like to be involved.
Right.
So I would caution, I guess, but at some point, if you're gonna have a standing committee, you probably ought to have a cap on the number. People can still show up and participate, but,
Actual member.
and I mean, but nothing says that number can't be 21 or something like that.
And all this meeting was last minute also, so we might wanna consider.
My apologies for that.
I know. We might wanna consider meeting like on Tuesday, if it's available. Maybe we send out another email and then say, hey, you know, we're
Yes.
looking to appoint chairs, if you're interested, show up, and then we can all talk amongst ourselves, who's interested in which position, and then we can talk about it, instead of guessing.
The only thing I would say is you'll need to coordinate that with Matt. The only down to this room, it's the only room we have. And
We can go cram into the town.
usually Matt knows what's being done for meetings here. And we don't wanna have a bunch of people show up for a town hall committee meeting while they're having a fire meeting, I guess is what I'm saying.
Or the planning board.
Planning board, or the other things that happen here.
The church would be available too, but not on Tuesdays.
Well, it doesn't have to be Tuesday.
Mondays and Tuesdays,
Wednesdays?
other groups are using it.
But don't they have their select?
There were 24 on our committee as we've been meeting. That's,
It's a big committee.
and some of those, I think most of them would still consider themselves active. There might be a couple that have kind of dropped off, but I think most of those are still active.
Yep. So you got a question?
Just, if you can appoint the leadership to do the communicating with you, so 20 people aren't bugging you, but the agreed upon leadership is, I would love to see it open because I really see a need for fundraising. Many hands make light work.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If November 30th is a special town meeting, is anybody else doing a bake sale? Is anybody, because we should start. And if we do that, who are we handing the money to? Or is there, knowing that you've been left in this situation where there's already an audit going on
One of the things we might be able to do right now, Michelle's working on the chart of accounts.
Right.
And I would think we could probably put a line item in there for donated or fundraised.
Yeah, that's
That
not
we
a
could
problem.
have its own line. I mean, the money would still be in this, general account, but in the ledger, in the journal, it would be designated for this purpose.
Thank you, Michelle.
So there's a town meeting November 30th?
Well, I don't think that's been
No.
discussed yet.
We haven't got that far yet.
Okay, so we're gonna backtrack to that. Okay, that's
I
fine.
think if we're gonna do that, probably the thing that makes the most sense is for us to add that to the agenda for the next selectmen's meeting to be discussed in open forum. That way it's legal.
Right.
My only concern is it a week notice or is it a 2-week notice that we have to do for a special meeting?
Special town meeting is 7 days.
Okay,
That's
we're
already
still
posted.
good then.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight because they have to put the warrant together. We have to get it posted, so it would have to, they'd have to have a special board meeting.
And we might
To get
wanna
it
do it,
together.
we might wanna do it like, instead of a Saturday, you might wanna do it on a Tuesday night or something.
As long as it's maybe like at this time, so people work.
Yeah, cause you could do it, there's a couple different options that you could do to give Ryan enough time.
I don't know how much interest a special town meeting like this would generate. I know I've been asked to moderate a few special town meetings in Dover. And a town of 4,000 people, you do a special town meeting and you're lucky to see 6 residents show up, so.
I think we had 107.
The last special
Yeah,
town
we
meeting.
had a lot.
We'd be pulling the fire trucks out, I think.
But there was a lot more fire at that point, so to speak.
Right. And I think that's what Dennis brought up. I think that's the number one thing that we gotta deal with once this committee is put together, is exactly that. The ability to apply for grant money.
That'd be quick.
Yeah, we gotta,
We need to correct that somehow.
Do you need to do that?
I don't disagree at all, I just, like I said, just wanna make sure we're following all the rules.
This is what we loved about Dennis, he didn't miss much.
Well, I appreciate, cause I did miss that, I thought we could still apply, but actually, there was a clause in now that I think about it, I don't know if we're allowed to apply on their end without that taking place either. Or it certainly would probably affect whether we're selected or not.
Yep.
So if we have this in place prior to December 13th, And, you know, I can, as long as I have, and I mean, this is electronically submitted, so we don't have to send it off by December 10th or anything like that. We can send it by Dropbox by end of business on December 13th, which what day of the week is that, you know?
That
I don't know what
is
day
the
it is
Friday.
right now.
I think it's Wednesday.
Friday. And honestly, it's all you need is that could be just the only article on there. Everything else can wait. We don't need to decide on the other stuff just yet.
So what I will probably do anyway, is if we're looking to go this route, I'll download the application and I'll have as much work done on it as I can, and it's like, okay, you know, if they shoot us down, all right, well, I'm out a few hours, but, you know.
Use it as a template for the other one, copy paste.
Exactly, there's, maybe I get some grant writing practice on it then, so we, you know.
Would you like me to try to the question 3 people? You want, or is that, you gonna do that? I mean, would you like me to start that process?
How about we let you folks get your feet underneath you as a committee and you decide some stuff like that? I would rather, certain stuff like this, I'd rather have the decisions. I don't wanna be, yes, I am you chose me to be a leader of this town, but within certain parameters. And how this committee divides its work and stuff, I see myself more as an advisor to the committee than as to somebody that's saying, can you do this, can you do that, can you do that? If we get in a position where I'm saying, geez, I really need this committee to do this, I should really be going to the chair of the committee and saying, can you put this on your agenda to discuss? Because to do so otherwise, you know, if we don't have clear lines of communication, I think that can really muddy the waters in a way we don't want done.
So if we put it on the agenda for you guys on the 20th, there's enough days we could do the meeting on the 2nd, special meeting on the 2nd.
And that would give
and
you
that would
almost
give-
2 weeks.
That would be ideal in my opinion.
It sounds it to me too.
The second is not, is that,
It's a Monday night.
okay,
So the only thing that we'd have to do is check with the church if we're gonna have it there, or, I don't know if you really wanna put the trucks outside, but decide on the
Send
place.
out a message quick, just if they can meeting on them.
Right.
Usually it's right back, so.
I think
now,
it's
the other
Wednesday or
question is, do
Sunday.
you folks wanna try to meet before next Wednesday night, the selectmen's meeting? Or do you want us to do you want me to go ahead and draft a policy that these guys can vote on and then appoint you as like a committee of, you said 24? Do you want me to go 25? Or, you know, up to 25 or something of that nature?
Whatever, I don't know, do we need to meet, our group, do we need to meet again and get our leadership organized, or?
Well,
Yeah.
the other thing though is if we do this as a standing committee, they can vote the policy, they can vote the appointments. And then it's up to you to meet after that and determine who your leadership is and how you wanna proceed. I mean, it's really, the only thing they're doing is saying, yes, this is an official standing committee of the town, and we're going to listen to them and use their input. That's pretty much all it is. That takes you out of that ad hoc situation. And then you can decide then and there, you can communicate with your people, have however you want, and say, we're gonna meet on this date, and, you know, for election of officers, or however you wanna do it. It's really it's your committee and your decisions as to how you put it together, I'd say.
So to be clear, are you saying select board is appointing the leadership, or are we?
The select board is
Deciding
appointing the
against us.
members of the committee only. Once the policy is put in place and approved for you to be a standing committee of the town, all of you and other people on that list that were not able to be here tonight, we can double check with them. They are appointed to the committee, and even if we leave some appointments open, because I can't reach people between now and then, you know, there's still the opportunity to come back to a future select board meeting and appoint those people. But once the appointments are made and the policy is put in place, then you people have the committee. How you decide your leadership, how you decide to work, everything is up to you at that
So
point.
we don't have to decide that now, like
Nope.
who wants to be
That
chair
sounds
or
good.
vice chair, so we get appointed as a committee as a whole, and then we can run with it.
Now, it was conveyed to me, and I certainly don't wanna speak out of turn for you, that Dennis had been the vice chair and was willing to, you know, take on the leadership of this committee. So, I mean, I certainly, by the sounds,
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't mind, obviously, if you did it, but there's new people that aren't here and they might also have interest, so wanna
How
give
many
them a
more,
chance
how
to
many
voice.
more aren't here?
Double.
There's only
I was gonna say,
30,
what if you,
only
and
7 years, there's 24.
when the engineer spoke to you folks, he was keen on the 501(c) continuing. The folks who aren't here are from the Historical Society who already have that status, which could be critical as we go forward. All of these grant applications we're talking about, that's gonna be a huge piece of it. So, I would love to,
well, a lot of grants go one way or the other. They're either certified local government or 503C. So, yeah, if you can somehow work them into the process, and I think that probably is a decision that the select board has to make early on is.
That's a big one. It's something we've gotta talk about.
So,
I just asked Matt, he said there's no meetings here on the 2nd. So, if it's enough for him.
So,
but again, before we make that decision, that really has to be put on the agenda and made at next Wednesday's meeting. We have to be careful not to make decisions here that don't pass
this is just
legal-
informational
the
meeting.
legal litmus test.
Should
Everything,
also, I'm just saying, with all the other committees you guys posted on like the town office, so maybe there are other people that are interested that weren't part of the committee before. I think we should have it open so people can send you either an email interest or come in and tell you they're interested before.
was there a sign-up sheet for this committee way back?
I think we just,
No, I'm not sure how you guys developed it. That was before me.
No, I'm talking, remember at town meeting, we had a sign-up sheet for committees, like,
Yep.
there was no sign-up sheet for this committee,
No, there
correct?
wasn't.
Because it was, in theory, still a standing committee.
yeah, because I was like, when are we getting the band back?
Or an ad hoc committee.
Right. It was an ad hoc committee, but
Right.
it was an existing committee, so.
Yeah, we didn't have
We
a
had
sign-up
nothing
sheet
on
for
the
that.
sign, that's what I thought.
And Patrick Lewis invited people to just informational sessions
We
last fall.
didn't disband it in any way, it's
Nope.
still an active
Correct.
committee.
Just the changes that have been made, I have to recuse myself, so that's kind of a change in leadership, that's
Whatever,
all.
John.
Melissa's the comedian.
I'll, tomorrow or Friday, I will do a Facebook post and town website post that tells people we had this meeting, and, you know, I'll put that real positive political spin on it that I try to do on everything, and let people know that this is a committee that's open for members, open for ideas, that we're probably gonna cap it at 25 appointments based primarily on people that served on the ad hoc committee. But for the future, everybody's welcome, everybody's input's welcome.
Irregardless of where they stood before.
Right, sure.
Like, if, you know, some people show up, it's water under the bridge, we're moving forward.
Right,
If they
absolutely.
wanna help, they should be able to show up and help.
So I'll make a sign-up sheet in the office. Anyone who's interested can just call us.
Sure.
We'll put them down the list. Well, they can stop in either one.
I think that's what we had to discuss, and
So we start that sign up for people interested tonight, for everybody's names that are here.
Oh,
You
we
can
can't.
hide it anyway.
You're
There's
already,
a sign up sheet.
We're already on it.
yep.
We're already on it.
You signed that sheet right there, you're on it.
I'm on it, okay.
Did the
Don't
engineer
worry.
say anything about meeting with them?
Meeting with the committee?
Yeah,
Nope.
because he was pretty adamant when he was here,
Who's that?
About what?
the engineer, about meeting with the committee
Hmm.
at some point, once we got them back
Right.
together, so that's
I will
something
bring that up
we
to
wanna
him,
get
I will
onto.
bring that up to him tomorrow.
Because that would get him in the path of which direction we're going, you know, historic value wise or just update. You know,
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense, Josh. Any way you look at it is to have that engineer
Yeah.
come in and do a presentation to
Yeah.
this committee or have a discussion with this committee. I agree with that.
and then they have a good starting point of where the engineer wants to start too, you know.
Yep.
I will bring that up tomorrow morning.
You got a question, Sue?
Yeah, just how aggressive can we be for fundraising? Like, can we start putting up a donation jar now? Donation jar in the town hall.
Let's at least get through next Wednesday's select board.
Yeah.
Where we make you an official standing committee and
No
you're
wildfire
appointed.
yet, okay.
So,
I'm ready.
Did you bring your money? I got a nickel.
trust me, from sitting there as the guy responsible for the financials, the more money you can bring into that office, the better. I don't care if you go up and rob banks as long as you don't tell me about it.
Don't say that.
So when we go to the special committee, are we gonna address the fact that now we need the funds to go back to the way they were, now we have a town manager? When the town funds were cut back,
I
So-
don't think they cut the town manager's salary.
well,
I
somebody
think they
said we
re-
don't have one, therefore, we're not gonna give so much, because
So most of that's been revisited and taken care
it
of.
has been taken care of.
Yes.
I'm working cheap.
We beat him up and he still came to work, so we're
Okay, so
good.
that's under the, that's water under the bridge.
It's all done.
Okay,
Yep,
good.
that's all been taken care of.
Yeah.
We had a special town meeting and got through that.
Oh, I missed that.
Yep. So that's all been tended to and our audit is done and all these things that were standing between us and getting into this project. We were going just as fast as we could go and there were things that took priority and this is where we're at in the priority list right now.
There is a tremendous amount of work still to be done to get us where we wanna be as a town.
How do
So-
you eat an elephant?
What's that?
How do you eat an elephant?
One piece at a time.
So as most of you noticed, there's two storage containers sitting out front. We, as a board, looked at our options for our records as a town, which are still in that building, that need to be out of that building. We looked at renting, we looked at the place we were in, which absolutely is no room, there's no place for them in our current situation as a town office. So we opted to purchase 2 cubicles. It was the cheapest option we had. We're gonna load the town's records, papers, all the things that we need to save, and
If
destroy
I'm
what we
not right
don't.
in the, oh, sorry.
And,
I don't know where you're gonna be.
our intent is to, once everything is brought out of that building and put into the cubicles, they're gonna be stored in the town garage. And they're lockable. So that's the plan, in case any of you are wondering why the boxes are out front and where we're going with that. The girls have been working on their day off, sifting through what needs to go where and freezing their fingers off and having a good time.
We have pretty much the town manager's office, is pretty much taken care of, stuff thrown away, that stuff shredded that needed to be shredded. Now we're down to sorting what needs to be put for historical and stuff that we need to actually have our hands on during the year. So we're getting there. We have 2 more areas down there that we need to, and then we're gonna head for the basement. So,
I think it's important as we go through this, if you can whip out your phone and take some photos, like through the entire process, because this is gonna be a really great case study in the end.
I think that's good advice.
Yes,
Yeah.
Hadn't thought of it.
Interestingly, that is part of, like I've heard this National Historic Preservation grant that I've been talking about. There is a section in the manual that says they want photographic, they want exactly what you just suggested, so that is a good point.
And that's gonna help with donations down the line when people,
Yes.
when people see the whole process,
Mhm.
that we were bringing, you know,
Where it was and where it's headed.
lugging the town's papers,
Mm.
storage unit. It's gonna be a feel good thing when we get to the point of, okay, we've got it back, and now we've got to maintain it.
Right.
We kind of document it. We were at this point.
How that we're at this, be being crap.
So I think that's all we have for tonight as far as the committee goes.
Just remember, the Universalist Church is open those days, the 20th,
Yep.
2nd, if space becomes an issue.
Yeah, thank you. We do appreciate that.
So when are we meeting?
So we have our select board meeting next Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And that's when we would do the appointment.
Yeah, and I will have a policy written up for a standing committee, and they'll approve the policy first, and then we'll do the appointments, and then
We'll do the
it'll be
appointments.
officially a committee.
And
So
then,
show up tomorrow show up next Wednesday at 6.
yep.
Yeah.
And then once the appointments are made, then you'll have to meet and do your own appointments within your committee. And
Okay.
then be game on.
You should probably schedule a meeting for them after we do the appointments, that way, because they don't have a chair or anybody to decide that
That's a good point.
till that point, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then email us,
What's that?
and then contact us, like email us or something?
Yeah, absolutely, I can do that,
Okay.
you know, next Thursday morning, especially if like next Wednesday night, after the meeting, if you give me a good idea when we could meet, and I will schedule a meeting.
So they can sign their life away.
So I think there's no real official adjourning the meeting. This is just a work session, just a discussion session.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for your patience with us getting through the rest of it. I know you guys have felt like, well, when are we gonna start? I know you've been chomping at the
I
bit.
know, and I haven't been listening to all of the, the
Yeah,
meetings.
yeah,
Some of them are very.
I kind of got sidetracked on that because that's a pain in the ass.
Very thankful.
Yeah, I'll probably actually ask.
We have definitely.
Take the lead off that to get that off my plate because I have more patience
My
with
face.
companies.
You're doing something wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That's the word for word after I asked
Negative
him
travels a lot
a
faster.
second or whatever. He's
Well,
like,
there's a lot
were you
of
at the meeting?
companies still being
He's like,
recorded.
can you give Brian
We'll
this?
make it a, tell Matt, we'll make it a priority.
Yeah,
I think maybe you and